it's time to catch a big one. And I'm going to give you 3 baits that aren't really known for catching big ones. Well, one of those baits is known for catching big ones, but I'll give you 2 baits that you can still catch numbers of bass on and catch big bass. And then I'll give you 1 bait that you can use to target giant bass. This time of year, we're talking late pre-spawn, into the spawn, deep into the post-spawn. For the next 2 months, you can use these 3 baits to catch big bass and get that kicker you've been looking for. Stay tuned. I've got the juiciest of the juice in this one. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe. It's going to be a good one. All right, guys, up first on the list of baits to catch big ones on this time of year, late pre-spawn, going into the spawn, into the post-spawn, smallmouth, largemouth, doesn't matter with this bait, but the first bait is a crankbait. This one's a rock crawler. Fish feed heavily this time of year on crawfish before they go onto the bed, after they go on the bed. Big fish like crawdads, and big fish get big eating crawdads, things like crawdads, bluegills, big shad. It's high protein, superior meal, and it's just an all-around kick-ass bait to get big bites on this time of year, pre-spawn. Even in the winter, the crankbait is a killer bait. Check out this fish catch right here. Knocked down a big smallmouth on actually it was on this crankbait, which is also a rock crawler, but as you can see right there, I hooked a striper and the front treble is gone. So rather than put a new split ring and hook on there, I went ahead and grabbed a more of a green tint, because we're getting into late April now, and mid to late April, and it's a good time to transition from your reds, browns, bright colors over to these more natural green tints. And this is a really good bait that will catch you big bass basically into the summertime until the fish get offshore. Check out this big smallmouth and check back in, and I'll give you the rundown on the setup. Here we go. Oh, it's a big one. That's a big one. Oh my God. Giant. Oh, he's about to get off. Come on. Come on, big boy. Nice. Nice. Giant on the rock. Giant. Oh yeah. What a stud. Look at that. 4 something maybe? Biggin'. The old rock crawler. Alright guys, so when you're cranking in the pre-spawn, as you can see here, we're in a creek and we've got some 45-ish banks, maybe a little steeper. But all you really have to do is Crank Bluffs, but in creeks. And this will catch you some of the biggest bass of the year. And basically find areas where the fish spawn, like back here, and crank the bluffs leading in to those pockets. All right guys, so the setup for the mid to shallow depth cranking, you can use this if you're dealing with some flatter, shallower water. You can use a square bill. KVD 1.5 is good. The medium version of this works well. This will work well in shallow water as well, but if you get around some brush or cover like that, you're gonna have some issues snagging in real shallow water. But that is a Spro Rock Crawler 55. That is 12-pound Seaguar Red Label on a St. Croix Legend tournament. This is a 7.2 medium heavy, moderate fast action. It's a smaller crankbait cranking rod. Works fine with this, works fine with square bills. It's a great rod, kind of pricey. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, probably not for you. But the reel is a Lew's BB1 Pro in a, I believe that's a 6.3 or 6.1 to 1. Doesn't really say, but pretty sure that's a 6.3 to 1 gear ratio reel. Anything 5 or 6 to 1 will work fine with your crankbaits. But grind bluffs leading into spawning areas, and you'll catch some big ones on this, and you'll catch numbers on it. Great bait for a big one. Let's go in to bait number 2 for catching big ones in the pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. Up next, the vibrating jig. This bait is very popular this time of year, pre-spawn mainly, but this bait works fantastic around the spawn. Now, one thing you do need to remember is as these fish go onto the bed and move up into the areas where they're going to spawn, this is when you want to switch to your bluegill colored vibrating jigs or your green pumpkins, something that looks like a bluegill, and they will absolutely annihilate this thing. Check out a couple of these fish catches and we'll get back in to the rod and reel setup and what we're targeting. Be right back. There's another. Oh, that's a big one. Oh. Oh yeah. Look at that. Begging, dude. Thunder cricket. Nice. Little chunky pre-spawn, getting ready to go up there and get on the bed. Go on ahead and get back down there, buddy. All right, guys, so the kind of things that we're wanting to target when using late pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn vibrating jigs is basically the last shallow cover that you come to in the spawning areas. In this case, right in front of us here, we're throwing at some shallow wood, shallow docks, anything in the backs of these pockets. And you can fish for these big fish right before they go on the bed and right after they come off the bed. And occasionally you'll catch one garden fry. There's a little spot there. But this is a really good bait, maybe the best for this scenario. And you can use it all the way up into the summer. And you can cover a ton of water with it and catch big ones. Check out this old fathead largemouth that smashed this vibrating jig You can see that it's clean and getting ready to go on the bed. All right guys, so for the bait, for the vibrating jig, doesn't really matter what you use as long as it looks like a bluegill. And this is a 3/8 ounce. It's typically what I tend to throw when the fish are pretty shallow, getting ready to go on the bed, covering docks, lay downs, things of that nature in the backs of pockets. This is for those fish right before they go on the bed. But that's a 3/8 ounce Strike King Thunder Cricket. I believe that color is actually called bluegill, and that is a freeloader, Rapala freeloader, standard size, and I think that's actually called bluegill. But we're throwing that on 20-pound Seaguar Red Label. We've got that on a Daiwa Tatula Elite Taco Mori cranking rod. He says he uses this for his bladed jigs, crankbaits, everything like that. Works great for a 3/8 ounce. If you're casting around docks and things like that, not going to work the best with a 1/2 ounce. I've tried it. You don't have the best control, but I mean, if you're just throwing laydowns or covering water with it, great rod for that. I've got a full-blown vibrating jig video coming out about this, so check that out. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the details. But that is a 7-foot Daiwa Tatula Elite medium heavy regular, rated for 1/2 ounce to 2 ounce lure, and that is a Daiwa Tatula SV in 7-1-1, 7-1, 8-1. Any kind of a fast reel will work fine. But that's it for the setup on that, and we're going to get into the #1 bait to catch a giant bass. All right guys, so this is the bait that you throw when you want to catch a giant. You're specifically targeting a giant bass or a kicker, and that's going to be a glide bait. This is a KGB, I think it's called a TSG9 or something like that. They don't make it anymore, but it's basically a Legend. It's a little bit heavier, but this is the kind of bait, if you want to catch the biggest fish of the year or your life, throw a glide bait. And something I should mention about glide baits is the smaller ones, they're kind of a waste of time for me, because if you're going to throw a smaller glide, like under 7 inches, there are plenty of other baits that'll work fine, and they're not such a pain in the ass to throw, like a jerk bait or a fluke or something of that nature. But when you want to catch a big one, these bigger glide baits move a lot of water, and it will make that big bass come out and eat. And this is probably my favorite glide bait that I own. I've got some other KGBs, some Legends, some Chad Shads, but I do not typically go any smaller than a Chad Shad. And I've tried them, like I've tried other baits. They'll catch some fish, but they just don't have the drawing power. And if you're going to throw a glide bait, you want something with some drawing power. And check out this giant we caught on this glide bait, and we'll get back into the setup and the kind of things you want to target with this particular bait. There we go. Biggin. Biggin. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Holy crap, dude. 6-pounder. It's gotta be 6, as fat as it is. Look at that thing. God almighty. Scale's dead. Pretty sure that's a 6-pounder. Pretty sure. Look at that thing. Oh my gosh. Giant. There you go, buddy. Head on back. All right, guys, so what you want to target with a glide bait is when you're coming into these spawning pockets. We're just using this one as an example, but you're going to want to throw this thing around a little bit deeper water because it does splash. Like when you get back into the flat parts of the pockets and you're casting this thing into shallow water, everything around is going to hear that thing hit the water and they're just going to run, kind of like throwing a rock in the water. So you want to target the little bit deeper parts, like near the points leading into these, so you don't spook every fish in the neighborhood. And what you're trying to do is draw those big fish up out of a little bit deeper water. It helps to have stain. Don't work the best in clear water unless you've got high winds or rain or something like that. Then they work pretty good. But you want some low light or some stain, kind of like we got here. This is enough, or high wind. But you can use it in all types of water and get bites. And when they come up and eat the thing, it's usually a done deal. You'll get a lot of followers, but when you come across the right fish, he's going to smash this thing, kind of like that one did just a second ago. And basically you're just working it like a top water under the water, and you can twitch it with your rod or just use the reel. On this particular rod, I use the reel because it is a long rod, and the rod is really important with this bait because you want to make accurate casts around laydowns and things of that nature. And this is let's see, this is rated for 2 to 8 ounce lures, 14 to 30 pound test, extra heavy. It's a Shimano Curado glide bait rod, and you want a rod with a lot of bone when you're throwing these big baits because you need to be able to control the bait. That's what this big handle's right here for. And if you don't have a stout enough rod, you're not going to be able to make accurate casts because the rod's going to overload and there's no telling where the bait's going to go. But with this rod, you can keep your eye on the target and thumb the spool and kind of ease that thing into the water. So you do want to get you a glide bait specific rod for these bigger glide baits. And it might take you all day to get a bite. It might take you 2 days, but you have to commit. I have a love-hate relationship with these baits, but on the days that I do commit to this bait, I usually catch a big one. And you saw it in the clip before there. And I have caught smaller and medium-sized type fish on these baits. But the goal with this thing is catch the fish of a lifetime, or the biggest fish of the year, or catch that kicker in your tournament. So you just absolutely have to commit to throwing it. If you cast it around every once in a while, you're going to feel like you've wasted your money on an expensive bait. These baits are like $150. They're not cheap. But if you do spring the money for the setup for this bait, and you get you a couple of expensive glide baits, they're worth the money, but you have to commit to throwing this bait until you get the bite you want on it. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, I don't know, just a fad. Or I saw somebody catch one on this on TV, so I thought I would try it. You got to commit. But when you commit, you can catch the biggest fish of your life. And the setup on this is 20-pound Seaguar Red Label again. And again, that's a KGB TSG9. It's basically a Legend that sinks faster. They don't make it anymore, but you can find them sometimes. It's my favorite glide bait. That's a Shimano Curado glide bait rod, 8 foot extra heavy. That's a Shimano Curado 200 XG that I've had for a long time. Solid reel, works perfect for this. You don't have to have a huge reel. You can use a 200 size and be fine with it. If you go to a 100 size reel, you're probably going to burn your thumb up trying to throw the spool down just because the spool's smaller. But this works fine for me. I've caught big ones on it, and it will catch you a big one if you commit. And the lake really doesn't matter that much. This is a lake that's known for being tough, and I've caught some really big bass on this really big bait right now. Late pre-spawn, spawn into the post-spawn. This thing's going to work deep into the summer if you commit to it. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Please remember to subscribe. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. Drop a comment below and tell me if you've thrown any glide baits. What's your favorite glide bait, and what's the biggest bass you've caught on a glide bait? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll have in-depth videos on all these tactics, so be sure and remember to subscribe. Peace out.